If your conversations suck when you try and talk to girls, if you feel like you can never develop a meaningful connection, and every single time you try and talk to a girl, it feels like you're pulling teeth, then I have a harsh truth for you. It's because you're boring. And I know this because I've been there myself. For the first 19 years of my life, I struggled to have conversations with girls or form any sort of meaningful connection, even with the easiest opportunities where my friend group would bring over girls who said they were interested in me, and I would still not be able to have a conversation or develop any connection. I would always fuck it up and wonder what I was doing wrong. But now it's clear as day that I was boring as fuck. I had nothing interesting about me, no social skills, no charisma, no charm. I couldn't even maintain a basic conversation. Although I looked good at the time, I had a six-pack, I was lean with some muscle, I had nothing going for me that made me an interesting person that girls wanted to get with. So I would always lose them at the point when I had to talk to them and form some sort of connection. So in this video, I'll be breaking down why you're boring and what you can do to actually fix it and be the guy that girls want to get with. I'm going to be taking you on my journey of going from someone who was boring to interesting and exactly what I did at every different phase of my life to become this person. And before we dive into it, I made every single one of you a conversation mastery guide teaching you how to start and have great conversations. This is completely for free. It's the first thing in the description below. You can grab that now. So I want to start off by asking you a question, and I really want you to think about this, which is, what have you done with your life that makes you an interesting person that girls would want to fuck? Genuinely think about that for a second, and I'll tell you a little bit about me up until 19. Because up until that point, I had only graduated high school, got a pizza delivery job that I worked a couple days a week, would hang out with my one friend. My friend group was quickly dwindling after high school. Everyone was going their own separate way. And the only good attribute about me was that I was working out. So there really wasn't too much to my character that made me an interesting person. I hadn't done too many interesting things on my own. Maybe I'd done a couple things like travel with family, but nothing really on my own that made me confident, that made me have any sort of individuality, nothing about me that made me interesting. I was very boring. I didn't know how to have conversations, no social skills. I was just really doing my own thing, pretty much in isolation, very much a hermit for the first 19 years of my life. And I had that one friend group who I would hang out with, and that was pretty much it. Occasionally hanging out with other friend groups who we knew. So that was the extent of my life. And that's why I was so boring, because there was nothing good about me. So now I'm going to take you on my journey of what I did to start becoming an interesting person starting at 19. So the first thing I did at 19 to change my life was go all in on self-improvement. I cut out all the instant gratification activities and took on delayed ones like reading, meditating, gratitude journaling. These sorts of things really changed my life, and I started to learn basic social skills by reading and then going out and actually applying them and testing the things that I was learning. And this is where it all started for me, because basic social skills is absolutely a necessity if you want to be perceived as interesting. If you don't know how to communicate with people, if you don't know how to make people like you, you are really going to struggle in this life to achieve absolutely anything. It is absolutely necessary. So it all started for me with improving myself, developing my confidence, getting my mental health to the best place that it ever was, whilst also learning social skills and practicing. And then from there, I started to take on different things. But what you got to understand is that this is absolute ground zero. If you can't even talk to other people about themselves and make them like you, you're really going to struggle. I mean, if you don't know how to tell a story or to talk about yourself in a way that doesn't come across as, you're the center of attention, you're bragging, all these things, it's going to be very difficult for people to like you and connect with you. Whereas if you understand social skills and you understand how to speak to people in a way that makes them really like you and make a story interesting and make yourself interesting, then you can start talking about yourself. Then you can tell us stories and you can do things. But if you don't know these things, it's going to be very difficult for you to come across the right way. You're just going to rub people the wrong way. And I tried many times when I was younger to, do some of these things or listen to the advice that I heard online. And every time I remember trying something in high school and I would just get red in the face and I would always fuck it up and I would be like, fuck this, I'm never trying this again. And I would just be like, all right, I'm just going to be the introvert who's quiet and doesn't say anything. But it's because I lacked social skills. So social skills is absolutely a necessity, and the Conversation Mastery Guide is basically going to be the cheat code to help you just start having success with your conversations right off the bat. But that is really where it all started for me, was self-improvement, becoming the best version of myself, and then learning social skills. And now let's dive into the next step that really took things to the next level, that actually allowed me to be interesting. Okay, so now we're gonna take things to another level beyond just basic social skills. This is how to be very likable, how to be interesting to others, which is that you need to be someone who can relate to them on many different things. You need to be very relatable. You need to have shared experiences, many different things in common. You need to share their passion. And part of your job to get to this point is being able to quickly discover, what does this person really like? You know, what is their favorite things? What might they be missing in their life? And then positioning yourself as the person who either has those things or is someone just like them, and then talking about the things that you have in common. And this is where you share those stories. You ask them about their stories. You really talk to them and connect to them on these different topics. And you are going to connect with people at a degree that you would never imagine. So, for example, I met this one girl and she was really into traveling. So what did we talk about? We talked about traveling, our different experiences, why it teaches you so much about life. And before you knew it, we had this great bond developed over traveling. And the more areas and layers that you can build this rapport on, it becomes like a stack of paper that in the wind, if you have one sheet of paper, it could easily get blown. But when you have an entire stack of just sheets and sheets and sheets of paper that is all these connections and areas which you have formed, all this rapport that you've developed, it becomes unbreakable. And that's what a connection is really all about, is being very in unison with someone. Because I have made friends who we just can't develop this connection. Some people, I'll be honest, are just not your type of people, right? There's people who you're just not going to be able to connect with in any way, shape, or form. They're just very, very different from you. And those sort of people, if you hang out with them, it kind of just feels awkward. There's a tension in the room. And that's completely fine. You don't need to connect with absolutely everyone. But the people that you like and you want to connect with, this is what's going to take it to the next level. This is why when I go out by myself, I can literally have friends before I walk into the club. And I'm not even exaggerating. There was a night when I moved to the city that I'm in now, the second weekend that I was here. I'm walking to the club. There's one club that's kind of off the beaten path that you need to kind of go a separate way to. I see 4 guys walk into this club, and I ask them, I'm like, yo, boys, you going to that club? And they're like, yeah. And we start talking, and by the time we get to the line, I get in for free because it had a cover and they know the guards there. So they get me in for free. And then they also get me into VIP for free. And then we're chatting to girls the entire night and having a great time. And it's so much fun. And this is not just like a one-off. This happens all the time. And every single girl I talk to, if she's somewhat interested, I can easily make the conversation work really well. These are all the things that you need to develop. If you want to be very interesting, there's all these little secrets, all these little cheat codes that you need to learn about social skills, about communication. And once you put it all together, it makes you very interesting. And we're going to go into the last point, which is going to tie this all together and allow you to really be next level. Okay, and the third and last thing, which is absolutely the most powerful, is you need to be inspiring. You need to be a force of nature. So once you have your social skills put together and you're really good at communication and you can make absolutely anyone like you, you know how to develop rapport on your shared experiences, and you can easily connect with people, the last thing that's going to take you to being absolutely savage and making everyone find you super interesting is you need to be an inspiring person. You need to be someone that guys and girls look up to. And here's the real cheat code. This is the real nugget of value. This is the golden nugget, which is that you need to use that power and that inspiration that people can see in you, and you need to take it and make them feel like you're going to use that to better their lives. So whether with guys or girls, just forget about getting girls for a second. Just think about what I'm saying as a whole, and I'm going to break it down in 2 different examples so you can really process this. And the easiest one is going to be with other guys. So let's just start there. So when you make new friends, what do most guys want? They want girls, right? So one of the easiest way to connect with other guys is to talk about girls and display competence with getting girls, but also how you're going to help them get girls. Imagine someone came along and they're like, bro, I'm going to help you get girls. And then they actually help you get girls. And all of a sudden you didn't think you were going to be succeeding with girls, and now you have girls. That guy is the link. That's the one who helped you get girls. Of course you're going to fucking love that guy. You're going to want to hang out with him all the time. And that's what I do for my friends. So the guys that I want to connect with, who I see potential in as a good friend, as someone who I want to actually hang around, That's what I do. It's that simple. So two friends from this summer I really liked, I brought out the best in them. We were going to the club, and before we went, we'd already developed a connection at the pre-party, getting introduced through mutual friends. And I said, we're gonna talk to 200 girls tonight. And my friend was laughing. He was like, yeah, okay, funny. And we actually talked to so many girls. At the end of the night, he goes, bro, I think we talked to 200 girls. And the savagery that I was bringing out in him is the reason why he started sleeping with girls left and right. And we really just connected over that and a lot of other things. And this developed such a great relationship between us. Now we're boys, we're brothers for life. It's just a connection that's unbreakable. And you won't get to that point if you can't be someone who's inspiring, who brings out the best in others. And now on the girl side of things, there's many different ways that you can do this, but a lot of the time, a girl's gonna wanna join your life, right? You're bringing a girl into your life. So lifestyle is a huge aspect of this, and also just discipline in your mindset and who you are. If you're an unshakable masculine force, it's going to be very easy for a girl to see you as someone inspiring. So she's going to want to come into your life knowing that you're on track for success, that you're firm in your beliefs, you're very confident, you know what you're doing, you're not a feather in the wind like I was at 19. You know what you're doing, you're on your path, you're going to do what you're going to do, and you have this lifestyle that you're building that she wants to join and be a part of. That's the easiest way to put it. There's a lot of different ways that you can be inspiring, but I think the guy example one was really, really obvious. But this is that last key, and the way that you're going to do this is you're going to have to work harder than everyone else. This is the only thing that has allowed me to get to this point where I'm at now, is sheer discipline. Discipline to be the guy who's constantly learning, constantly trying things, persevering through all the challenges, all the setbacks. I cannot tell you how many times I have fucking struggled with all the different things that we've talked about in this video. Whether it was forming friend groups, there was times when I moved to cities and, I was maybe sleeping with girls, but I couldn't form a friend group, or I struggled with different things, but I persevered and I kept learning and I kept reading and I kept piecing things together and I learned about networking. And before you knew it, it was really simple to put together friend groups and do all this stuff, but it's perseverance, it's discipline, it's improving yourself, it's figuring out all the little pieces to the pie and being the guy who is just relentless, who will not stop until you have everything you want. If you go after and attack life in that manner, you are going to have a great life, and you're going to become the man who is inspiring, who people want to be like. When you have so many attributes and you're just this guy of, many talents, a jack of all trades, when people meet you, they're like, oh shit, this is the guy who He's got an online business. He's making money online, financially free. He doesn't show up to work ever. He works out whenever he wants. He's got a great body. He's good with girls. He's charismatic. He's likable. He travels the world. He does all kinds of cool outdoor activities. He's boxing. You have so many things to you, and then before you know it, it's just like, fuck, like everyone wants to be around you. Girls, guys, you have everything that you want. But it's all about becoming an interesting person. And there's really no cheat code to being interesting. You have to truly change who you are as a person. And that's why I asked that question when we first started, is like, what have you done that makes you an interesting guy that girls would want to fuck? And when you really think about it, you're like, shit, well, me at 19, I'll be like, oh, fuck, well, I haven't done that much. But if I look at the last 4 years, it's like, holy shit, I've done so many different things that have made me an interesting guy. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this because in such a short period of time, I've transformed my life, and you can too. So that's where I want to leave you guys off with. These are some more high-level things that are going to allow you to be a very interesting person. So it went small, like starting with social skills, like how to really take things to the next level, and then being an inspiring person. But that's really the cheat code. If you can do all these things, you're going to have tons of success with girls. You'll never struggle with girls a day in your life. And now, get started by just talking to them. And if you want my guide, this is really going to help you start having great conversations. So it's completely for free. It's the first link in the description below.